Ukrainian armed forces drones are striking again, hitting Voronezh and Lipetsk. Everything is on fire. The Russians are boasting about an Iskander strike on a humanitarian mission in Ukraine. Zelensky accuses Putin of dragging out negotiations, while former Polish President Duda claims that Kyiv is drawing NATO into the war. The Kremlin cynically talks about the benefits of Western sanctions. Meanwhile, a plane in Russia loses an engine right in midair, while chicken eggs are proudly being shipped to the USA. Hello, my name is Yulia Kokan, and right now, here are the top stories. But first, please like this video and subscribe to our channel so we don't lose each other on YouTube. Friendly drones have once again visited the Ryazan oil refinery. Photos and videos of the attack are going viral online. According to the governor of the Ryazan region, there are no casualties or damage to residential buildings or infrastructure. Debris fell on the territory of the industrial facility, and the consequences are being dealt with. Meanwhile, unmanned systems forces have confirmed the successful strike on Russia's strategic energy facility, the Ryazan oil refinery. This is one of the 4 largest oil refineries in Russia, with an annual processing capacity of 17,100,000 tons of oil. That accounts for about 6.1% of the total oil refining volume in Russia. A large-scale fire broke out on the premises, as confirmed by NASA firm satellite monitoring data. The detailed consequences of the strike are being clarified. The strike was carried out at a distance of more than 470 kilometers from Ukraine's state border. There was also a fire in Russia's Lipetsk region. Local social media channels report that the Energia plant was likely targeted again. Operators of the 14th Regiment also delivered a strike on an oil depot in occupied Luhansk. As a result of the attack, explosions and a large-scale fire occurred at the facility. The consequences of the strike are being clarified. Well, what can I say? I like how it burns, especially if it happens every day. And as the saying goes, let it burn brightly so it doesn't go out. Russia is hitting a new low again. On September 4th, the occupiers deliberately struck the humanitarian mission of the Danish Refugee Council in the Kyiv community near Chernihiv. This was reported by the head of the Chernihiv Regional Military Administration, Vyacheslav Chaus, and the chief of the Chernihiv Regional Military Administration, Dmytro Brzezinski. 2 people were killed, including the driver Serhiy, who is survived by his wife and daughter. Another 8 people were injured.
First, the Russians littered the region with explosives and mines. Now they are killing civilians who risk their lives to clear our land of the consequences of the Russian invasion.
The Danish Refugee Council is in shock. At the moment of the strike, their team was demining the fields. They were engaged exclusively in civilian demining activities to restore access to infrastructure, agriculture, and residential homes. But they became a Russian target.
This strike on a civilian humanitarian operation is a serious violation of international humanitarian law. Humanitarian workers, as well as the people they help, should never become targets while carrying out such vital work.
The organization called on all parties to comply with international law and ensure the safety of humanitarian workers. But despite the risks, they promised to continue demining efforts to save lives. Meanwhile, the occupiers themselves published a video titled "The Moment of the Strike" on the humanitarian mission. However, the Russian Ministry of Defense is lying, claiming they struck a site for the preparation and launch of long-range UAVs. They claim to have destroyed 10 militants and 8 vehicles. But the truth is obvious.
With the help of aerial reconnaissance assets of the Russian armed forces, preparations for the launch of long-range strike UAVs by Ukrainian crews from a dirt airstrip in Chernihiv region into Russian airspace were detected. A high-precision strike was carried out by the Russian armed forces Iskander missile system against the enemy's vehicles equipped with UAV launchers. The launch of long-range strike drones by the Ukrainian armed forces was thwarted. Objective control means confirmed the successful destruction of up to 10 militants and 8 vehicles of the Ukrainian armed forces equipped with UAV launchers. Once again, the Kyiv regime tried to present the destruction of legitimate military targets at a site for preparing and launching Ukrainian armed forces UAVs as an alleged strike on a civilian humanitarian demining mission in order to disguise combat UAV units of the Ukrainian armed forces under this cover story.
For his part, Ukrainian Ombudsman Dmytro Lubinets called on the world to respond to Russia's war crime.
This is yet another cynical crime. Attacking people who are carrying out humanitarian work means deliberately putting humanitarian activities at risk. Once again, Russia is violating fundamental norms of international law, and the world must respond to this.
As always, cynically and deceitfully, the Russians stab us in the back. The terrorist country will inevitably answer for every strike and every killing. The Russian dictator's proposal to hold negotiations in Moscow no longer surprises anyone. But now the bunker elder claims that the Russian capital, and I quote, is the best place for such a meeting.
The Ukrainian side genuinely wants this important meeting and is actively proposing it. I have stated, I am fully ready, please do come. We will completely provide all the necessary conditions for your work and ensure your absolute security, offering a 100% guarantee. But if we're told, we want to meet with you, but you have to go there for this meeting, I think these are simply excessive demands on us. Once again, if someone truly wants to meet with us, we are ready. The best place for this is the capital of the Russian Federation, the hero city of Moscow.
However, Zelensky's reaction is skeptical. The president of Ukraine noted that Russia is not showing any desire to end the war and is simply dragging out the process.
Our American partners told us
that Putin invited me to Moscow. I believe that if you want the meeting not to happen, then you should invite me to Moscow. Therefore, I think that the fact Russia has started talking about a meeting is already not bad, but so far we do not see their willingness to end the war.
In turn, Zelensky declares that Ukraine will not give up Donbas, Russia is preparing a new offensive, and in the morning, patience will run out. We have gathered the most relevant information about what is happening around the peace negotiations between Ukraine and Russia.
Ukraine as the shield of Europe. President Volodymyr Zelensky warns that any territorial concessions to Russia will not stop the war, but will only turn the captured regions into a launching pad for new attacks. The Kremlin has already practiced this strategy when Crimea became a springboard for pressure on the south and part of the east for the complete occupation of the region.
If tomorrow, in some way, we were to leave Donbas, which will not happen, we would open up unprotected territory to Putin right next to the city of Kharkiv, which has a population of 1.5 million. He would also seize the industrial center of Dnipro. This would open up new opportunities for him.
The president of Ukraine urges Europeans to think on a larger scale, because if the Kremlin had managed to carry out its original plan to seize all of Ukraine, Pasqua would have used it not only against Kyiv, but also against the West itself.
If Putin had managed to seize our entire country, he would have used it as a springboard. Whether he does this or not will depend on how strong Europe is. If Europe is strong, he will probably do nothing, but if it is weak, it will suffer from Russia's actions.
Zelensky also reminds us of the geography. It's less than 3,000 kilometers from Moscow to Paris, and the range of Russian missiles already reaches 2,500 kilometers today. Ukraine is also developing long-range weapons with a range of up to 3,000 kilometers, and the arms race is only accelerating.
With such technological development, there can no longer be any distant wars. Believe me, in 2 years, the Russians will have many missiles, and so will we, with a range of 5,000 kilometers. The sea won't protect anyone, the ocean won't protect anyone. In this regard, the weapons that Russia is using today are not so different from nuclear means of delivery.
That is why the fate of Ukraine is not a local war, but a matter for all of Europe. If Kyiv holds the eastern border of Europe, Donbas will remain. If not, the front line will already run through Poland or Germany, just as the Berlin Wall once divided the continent into two walls. Against the backdrop of these warnings, Zelensky also allows for a Korean scenario for Ukraine, without a formal peace treaty, but with a chance for prosperity and development. The only question is where exactly Europe is ready to draw its eastern border, Donetsk or Berlin. Meanwhile, new statements are being made across the ocean. US President Donald Trump, in an interview with CBS, acknowledges that neither Kyiv nor Moscow are ready for a peace agreement yet. But he immediately adds a cryptic phrase that something is going to happen soon, and also announces his upcoming conversation with the Russian dictator in the coming days.
I think we will sort everything out. Honestly, I thought that dealing with Russia would be easier than with other conflicts I have resolved. But it seems this has turned out to be a bit more complicated than some of them.
For the American leader, who not long ago called the war one of the easiest conflicts to resolve, these words sound like an admission. An admission that the Russia-Ukraine war turned out to be much more difficult than he expected.
It is quite obvious that former President Trump will very soon try to actively push President Putin toward, I think, a significant trilateral meeting. After all, Putin is doing everything to show that he is not at all interested in direct communication with the Ukrainian President Zelensky. Well, I think that a trilateral meeting is still more realistic, although, again, holding it in the short term seems, to me, almost science fiction. Plus, judging by statements from Friedrich Merz, other European leaders, or Turkish President Erdogan, it is quite clear that right now it is Putin who is sabotaging the upcoming meeting. But the fact that he is sabotaging it now does not mean that Putin won't be forced to change his position in the near future.
But for now, the Russian dictator continues to spill blood on Ukrainian soil. European leaders are concerned about a possible new Russian offensive. Bloomberg reports that at a Security Council meeting in Toulon, German and French officials discussed the buildup of Russian troops near Pokrovsk. Volodymyr Zelensky himself recently stated that about 100,000 soldiers are concentrated in this direction. The capture of Pokrovsk would open the way to Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, key cities for controlling the entire Donetsk region.
What kind of new offensive in the east are Western media writing about? I don't understand, because there is only one offensive and it has been steadily ongoing for more than a year, with varying phases of Russian activity. These phases depend on losses and reserves.
Putin continues to pursue a strategy of dragging out the negotiation process. All the significant points he meticulously made directly at the extensive press conference held in China were clearly meant, at least in some significant way, to effectively dampen the considerable enthusiasm of the broad coalition actively seeking to formulate a comprehensive and final proposal concerning robust security guarantees for Ukraine. Nevertheless, what we are seeing right now in Paris, what we are seeing is that no one is even remotely considering slowing down the process of crystallizing these security guarantees for our country. And this shows that, in principle, we are making small but still real steps along the diplomatic track.
Today, the choice is not only before Ukraine, but before the entire West as well. The decisions that will be made at the upcoming negotiations with Moscow will determine not only the fate of Ukraine, but also the security of all of Europe. Will peace be restored on Ukrainian soil, or will the war spread further? This is a question to which no one has an answer yet.
It seems the former president of Poland has found himself a new job. Now he is trying himself in the role of a TV host and will become the creator and host of a program on Channel Zero. And so let's say his first big appearance, Andrzej Duda, suddenly accused Ukraine of dragging Poland into the war. He claimed that from the very beginning of the full-scale invasion, Kyiv tried to draw all NATO countries in. Duda made his statement while commenting on the missile strike on Przewodów. Our journalists will explain what lies behind these strange statements by the former Polish president.
Ukraine tried to drag Poland into the war, said former Polish President Andrzej Duda in an interview with Bohdan Rymanowski.
It is in their interest to drag everyone into the war, especially NATO countries. It's clear they're looking for those who will actively fight on their side against the Russians.
According to Duda, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky tried to put pressure on Warsaw. In the conversation, Rymanowski mentions the incident involving a missile that landed on Polish territory.
Do you remember November 15, 2022? November 15? Yes, that was one of the most difficult days of my presidency. Rockets in Przewodów.
To this, Andrzej Duda responded that when a rocket fell on Polish territory, the Ukrainian leader allegedly began demanding that it be stated that it was indeed a Russian rocket.
Any nationalists always have certain grievances in their relations with other countries and with the rule of law. Duda and the Nawrockies, as representatives of this party, adhere to this ideology, which is not particularly inclined toward constructive dialogue with Ukraine.
Based on Duda's statements, it's important not to think that the Poles have taken the Russian side. Their relationship with the Russians is, to put it mildly, bad, if it even exists at all. The current president of the country, Karl Nawrocki, is wanted in Russia, and formally as soon as he sets foot on Russian soil, he is supposed to be arrested as a Polish nationalist.
They strongly supported Ukraine in the first weeks and months of the full-scale war because they were afraid for themselves. So we have a clear threat, it's Russia, and after Ukraine, Russia will of course want to seize Poland.
Unlike Ukraine, Poland is a NATO country, which means it can count on the protection of the alliance.
And is NATO afraid of that? I'm more than sure that the Poles, given their mentality, would gladly acknowledge that. Remember, there were 2 Polish farmers killed by a missile in Yevlo, and then events unfold with violations of Polish airspace, just as we've seen with violations of Romanian airspace. The only difference is that, unlike the Poles, the Romanians at least try to shoot down anything that flies near their territory. It seems to me that this demonstrates how both Poland and Romania are categorically forbidden by NATO to acknowledge the fact that their territories are being attacked. By the way, this is a rather unpleasant episode for NATO because in the Baltic countries, it seems to me, there is a certain distrust of that very notorious Article 5.
Europe is doing everything it can to delay entering a war with Putin, and because it is not ready to fight. And while, together with NATO, Europeans are shielding themselves from this war, it keeps getting closer and closer to their borders, already killing their citizens. Tense music.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
In Finland, near the border with Russia, 2 large weapons caches have been discovered. The police have been conducting searches there for over a week. This has been reported by local media. According to journalists, in the Finnish city of Kouvola, about 100 kilometers from the Russian border, a warehouse was found to contain 110 firearms, 100,000 rounds of ammunition, fragmentation grenades, and anti-tank munitions. The second warehouse is located in the same city in the Oikaa district.
One of the properties is owned by a former employee of the Finnish National Criminal Police. He has already been arrested.
It is reported that the preliminary investigation may last for months. And what do you think? Why would a former employee of the Finnish National Criminal Police really need so many weapons? Share your thoughts in the comments. I see in the comments that we have a lot of viewers from Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Georgia, the USA, and Europe. We are very grateful to you for your support. Let us know which country you're watching from. Do you believe that in this war, good will triumph over evil? I'll be happy to read and like your comments this evening. And for now, we continue. The United Kingdom has imposed sanctions against individuals who forcibly deport and militarize Ukrainian children. Among them are 8 people and 3 organizations connected to the Russian state. The list includes the Ramzan Kadyrov Foundation, which runs re-education programs for Ukrainian children and teenagers, subjecting them to militaristic training. The president of the foundation, Aymani Kadyrova, Ramzan Kadyrov's mother, was also sanctioned. Details in the report.
The United Kingdom has expanded its sanctions against Russia. Among others, the list includes Putin's pioneer movement, the so-called First Youth Movement, and the Ramzan Kadyrov Foundation headed by the mother of the Chechen leader, Aymani.
They say my mother has been included in the sanctions. All she does is help the poor, the needy, just those in need, that's all. And what for? Yes, why was she sanctioned? Yes, sanctions were imposed against her, right? What kind of people are you, huh? Are you even people or just cattle, huh? If you don't lift the sanctions, yes, against my mother, I swear to the Almighty, I simply won't let this go. She never took part in anything. She always, yes, stays at home. Yes, she doesn't sign a single document. Yes, she never makes any political, statements anywhere.
But sanctions, on the one hand, as a preventive measure, and on the other hand, as a rather quick way, let's say, to eliminate this element of propaganda influence, are quite an effective tool.
Previously, several countries had already imposed sanctions against Kadyrov's mother, because her foundation, which is supposed to help those in need, actually gives billions from donations to the war.
Whatever I need, the Akhmat Haji Kadyrov Foundation provides for me, and during the special military operation, it has already spent 42 billion rubles on it. All I have to do is pick up the phone, call Ramzan Akhmatovich, tell him I need something, and by the next day, I already have it.
And as for all the whining in the swamps about this, oh, his mother isn't a political figure. His mother doesn't sign anything. His mother is just Kadyrov's mother. She doesn't say anything about politics at all. Well, she doesn't need to say anything. She serves a symbolic function. She is Kadyrov's mother, essentially the appointee of Putin in the region. Because this organization, yes, the charitable foundation, serves exclusively Putin's interests and the interests of spreading the so-called Russian world.
Kadyrov himself supposedly takes pride in the sanctions against his family and claims they have no impact whatsoever. He even once put on a show celebrating his world record for the number of sanctions.
The highest number of sanctions imposed on a person, their relatives and associates in the world, with a total of 68 sanctions. I declare Ramzan Akhmatovich Kadyrov the record holder.
Today I am very proud and happy.
Another sanctioned organization now is the Movement of the Firsts, which under the guise of good deeds brainwashes stolen Ukrainian children, turning them into potential cannon fodder for Putin's army.
Today I am announcing measures against those monsters who forcibly deported Ukrainian children in an attempt to indoctrinate and militarize them for the Kremlin.
School children and students are forcibly enrolled into the Movement of the Firsts, which is why the number of Putin's pioneers is growing at a cosmic rate.
The Movement of the Firsts was founded quite recently at your initiative, at the initiative of your peers, only in 2022. But since then it has gained truly large-scale, grand, nationwide momentum. More than 11 million people are participating in this movement. Congratulations on that.
You have to agree, it's very difficult to resist. For example, if children are organizing some kind of cultural mass event, say in a European Union country, related to the pioneer movement and horizontal connections, for instance, exchanging with European countries, staying with families there for a while, and so on. Well, even if it's not in Russia, obviously no one is going to go to Russia, but this movement does exist in Europe. For example, in the Russian-speaking countries of the Baltics, it is quite active. In Bulgaria, for instance, there are many Russian schools with Russian as the language of instruction. There is also still a fairly tolerant attitude toward this in Romania, as well as in Moldova, which is not a member of the European Union, but has long been considered a Western country.
On the temporarily occupied territories, the scale of propaganda is off the charts. The criminal authorities take pride in drawing as many children as possible into the real Putinist cult.
We will never part with Russia. No one will be able to stand in our way.
This movement opens up a wide range of opportunities for our youth, from volunteering to scientific research, from military games to environmental projects. The first movement has brought together under its wing proactive, energetic, goal-oriented and creative young people. We are Russian people, and for us it is important not to be left alone.
There, entire educational institutions are immediately enrolled en masse into Putin's first movement.
In fact, this is a historic event. Today, the Lyceum is joining the ranks of the Russian youth movement, the first movement, and they are already full of ideas and enthusiasm to express themselves, to show what they can do, and to prove that the first movement is the organization that is needed and important in society today.
The Luhansk People's Republic, a region that has asserted its independence, is now free and has achieved its liberation.
The Kremlin dictator is a true wolf in sheep's clothing, telling children lies about values that neither he nor his bloody regime have ever followed for a single day.
After all, people don't acquire things just to let them wither away. You know what? What the profound secret truly is? It's fundamentally about generously sharing what you genuinely have with others. It involves actively helping others and consistently supporting others. That's where a person finds themselves best. That's what brings a person the greatest satisfaction.
And even though Putin's cronies shout at the top of their lungs that sanctions don't bother them, thanks to this Western policy, the whole world knows that behind the mask of charity, Putin's regime hides criminal organizations.
And now, here's a real meme. Just listen to what Putin's advisor and deputy head of his administration, Maxim Oreshkin, said this time. According to him, every country will be begging to have sanctions imposed on them because supposedly sanctions stimulate economic development. Listen for yourself.
Every country in the global majority will be practically begging to have sanctions imposed on them. Yes, because seeing the positive effect that this process brings. Yes, the process It stimulates the transition to a fundamentally new level and forces the search for and implementation of new opportunities. And that's why the positive impact of these sanction-related trade restrictions really can't be underestimated.
What can you say to that? Personally, I'm not surprised. It's also typical of Russia. When have they ever openly admitted that things are going badly for them? Exactly, never. It's nothing but lies. Why would they need the truth? The main thing is to spin a good story for their own people. And that's something they really love to do. Now let's get back to Ramzan Kadyrov. It looks like Don already has one foot in the grave. His latest public appearance only confirms the widespread rumors and speculation. What's happening with the Chechen dictator's health and how much time does he have left? More on that in the next segment.
Kadyrov's own legs don't even obey him anymore. Don's health is deteriorating rapidly. He hadn't appeared in public for a long time, and when he finally showed up at the first day of school for yet another son, he almost collapsed in front of the guests. The video shows that every step is a huge struggle for Ramzan. The once feared Chechen dictator can't even stand upright anymore.
He couldn't walk straight at all. He wasn't able to take even a few steps. He also had great difficulty standing and constantly needed assistance.
This is exactly how those present at the school event saw Kadyrov. According to eyewitnesses, after a few minutes in front of the cameras, Don was led away, supported by others. Such an unsteady public appearance sparked even more rumors about Ramzan's serious health problems.
He has a rather serious diagnosis, which requires him to be hospitalized from time to time. Sometimes probably he just isn't in a condition to hold any meetings, but sometimes he feels better.
Rumors about Ramzan Kadyrov's health problems have been circulating for a long time. The press is convinced Don has pancreatic necrosis. Allegedly, the head of Chechnya has been battling this illness for more than 5 years already, and the mortality rate for such a diagnosis reaches 80%. However, an unexpected incident in Turkey added fuel to the fire regarding Don's imminent demise. There, while vacationing at a luxury hotel, Ramzan was struck down right in the sea.
Kadyrov allegedly almost drowned in Bodrum. He was saved by either the Turkish Coast Guard or Turkish rescuers. And of course, this information spread all over the world. There were many versions and comments on this topic. And then there was footage supposedly showing Kadyrov being discharged from some Turkish hospital. Ironically, it turned out to be an American hospital.
However, there is no video evidence confirming what happened. The hotel flatly refused to provide footage of the incident. Then rumors started circulating online that Kadyrov allegedly wasn't drowning, but on the contrary, was trying to drown himself. Be that as it may, after this incident, the head of Chechnya stopped filming his beloved TikToks and only appeared in public a month later, looking significantly thinner.
What is a fact? The fact is that Kadyrov disappears after this news. Kadyrov himself doesn't appear anywhere, nor does he show that he's okay, nor does his propaganda refute this news, and moreover, they don't even comment on it. That is, neither the official minister of propaganda, let's say Kadyrov's own Ahmed Dudayev, nor the head of the local TV channel, Chingiz Akhmatov, nor any of the various pro-Kadyrov public pages, which usually, when they need to spread some rumors in Chechen society, do so through these pro-Kadyrov Instagram accounts. None of them are doing anything like that now. But here, it's complete calm, total silence. And this gives me every reason to say that something really did happen to his health.
Judging by the latest videos, Kadyrov's illness is progressing rapidly. Some doctors are giving Ramzan only a few months to live. Meanwhile, political analysts are racing to predict what will happen to Chechnya and its political elite after Don's death.
And they are very much concerned that Ramzan Kadyrov continues to be prominently presented as the undisputed head of the Chechen Republic, and his physical condition is of utmost importance to them.
However, whether Ramzan Kadyrovich passes away in a few months or a few years, most likely the Kadyrov clan will still remain in power in the Republic. And what is even more important for the family is to hold on to the Putin feeding trough.
The process of political succession, I would say, in a North Korean style is underway. Apart from the children, there are no reliable people left.
There are no factions within the clans. There is the Kadyrov family, on which Putin originally placed his bet, Putin and the FSB. Overall, Russia, yes, the Kremlin. And they all obey the Kremlin. That is, whoever they are told to obey, they will serve and follow that person. That's why, by the way, it's very important for the Kremlin that the Kadyrov family rules, because that's their propaganda line, the path of Ahmad Kadyrov. This is Ahmad power. All of this is aimed at saying that Ahmad Kadyrov saved the Chechen people. Ahmad Kadyrov and Putin, by coming to an agreement, saved the Chechen people. The Kadyrovs are rebuilding Chechnya. They are such, incredibly devout Muslims, Chechens. Just take a good look at them. And if you truly want to be worthy Chechens, then you absolutely must serve Vladimir Putin and become Putin's loyal foot soldier, faithfully carrying out his commands.
The only thing that almost all analysts agree on is that Kadyrov already has one foot in the grave, and judging by the latest videos, Ramzan's other foot is shaking quite a bit.
And furthermore, planes in Russia continue to crash at an alarming rate, just like their economy. In Kamchatka, a passenger plane's engine failed right in the sky. An An-26 flying the Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky to Telyuchiki route was forced to turn around and make an emergency landing at the nearest airport. There were 30 passengers on board. Well, what can you say? Not a single day goes by without an incident in Russian aviation. Not a single day. Well, finally, there's a new reason for pride in the swamps, courtesy of Russian propaganda. For the first time since 1992, Russia has sent chicken eggs to the USA. And all because there's a shortage in America due to bird flu. It's funny because just a year ago, Russians themselves were begging for eggs from Turkey and Azerbaijan. Now they're proud of exporting them across the ocean. So they've finally gotten off their knees, except that for their own citizens, the price of eggs is skyrocketing. Well, what can you do? Let their own people endure it. What do you think of this news? Leave your comments below. How do you like our news? Let us know what we should change to get better. We will definitely take your feedback into account. In the meantime, please like this video to support what we do. And be sure to subscribe to our channel Ukraine Today so you don't miss our next episodes. See you soon!